As Bachman-Turner Overdrive once sang, taking care of business, well, the Hurricanes took care of business in Nashville to win their fifth straight game.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hawkers, also the host of the Surgecast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. On today's show, we're going to recap the Hurricanes' 4-1 win over the Nashville Predators to sweep them in the regular season and claim their fifth straight win as the Hurricanes keep rolling. Also get to hear from Jackson Blake and Rod Brind'Amour post-game following the win. But before we jump into all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. So, Carolina Hurricanes rolling to Nashville on a 4-game winning streak after beating Columbus, Washington, and in their weekend back-to-back sweep over the Philadelphia Flyers. All three of those last 4 games were in a shootout. So, going to Nashville, they beat the Predators earlier, this month, back on the 6-3. So, they go to Nashville looking for their sweep of the Predators on the regular season, and it was definitely an interesting game, that's for sure. You're going 1-0 into the third period. You're out shooting them like crazy. 19-5, 9-6. Then Nashville puts up 15 shots in the third period, basically kind of past their previous 2-period total. Hurricanes still outshoot them 37-26, but it's the Hurricanes power play going 1 for 4, which is very huge. The power play still staying hot. They're still being consistent where they're getting goals in every other game, keeping those trying to get that total up. But then the PK, 3 for 3, shut the door. That's all you really ask for. And the Hurricanes got the win on not just one guy having a multi-point night. How about multiple guys with a multi-point night? Jackson Blake gets the scoring done early, gets the assist on the Sebastian Aho goal. Boom, there's your first multi-point night from Jackson Blake, who we'll hear in the second part of the show. Sebastian Aho scores, the power play goal in the third period, makes it 2-0 Hurricanes, gets the assist on the Seth Jarvis goal, and then hits the empty netter to ice the game, make it 4-1, and he gets a 2-goal, 3-point night. And that's not all. Andrei Svechnikov, secondary assist on the Aho power play goal, and then the primary assist on the Sebastian Aho empty netter. Bang, there's your other multi-point night. So you had a good number of Carolina Hurricanes with some multi-point nights. Like I said, you got Sebastian Aho with a 3-point night, and then you got Andrei Svechnikov with 2, and Jackson Blake with 2. And that's all you really needed. And that was a perfect performance by these guys. Alexander Nikishin gets a point as well. Ehlers, Jarvis with the goal, Stankoven with the assist. And that's really all she wrote. When you talk about a team where Aho didn't have a point in the previous 5 games, comes down and has a 3-piece. Not a 1, not a 2, but a nice 3-piece combo. Gets the very much needed monkey off the back of not getting a point in his last 5 games. Gets the job done. 4 shots. Talking about he's been passive, not passive in this one, shooting it at will. Jackson Blake 4 shots. Seth Jarvis 4 shots. Eric Robinson had 5 shots. I'm kind of surprised he didn't get a point because he was all over it. Alexander Nikishin with 3 shots. Jalen Chatfield, Sean Walker. Everyone was putting up shots in this game, which we also got to talk about the goaltending performance. Pyotr Kochetkov, 25 of 26 saves, and he gets a .962 save percentage in this game. Talk about some great performances as of late from him. Got the win against Philadelphia. Wasn't a shootout, but hey, a win's a win. But he gets the dominant one against Nashville. Now he's on a 2-game winning streak. He's won 4 of his last 5 starts for the Carolina Hurricanes. Make that a 6-1 record with a 195 goals against and a .913 save percentage. I mean, hey, Pierre Kachekov is getting pretty hot right now. That's all you can really ask for, especially when you got Brandon Busky also on a 9-game heater. But the Hurricanes, that is a great performance by these guys. Yeah, it was, like I said, it was 1-0 going into the third, but UC Saros was just doing UC Saros things, making almost every save. The Hurricanes should have been up at least 2 or 3-0 going into the last period, but you know what? They hunkered down, still did their thing, got 1, got 2, making it 3-0. Nashville does score on a mad scramble play where Philip Forsberg was just boxed out, but unfortunately was just still able to get to the puck. Erases the shutout for Piotr, but Kachekov had a great game. Like I said, 25 of 26. That's all you can ask for out of your goalie. And the thing too is your top line multi-point nights for a couple of those guys. You know, Seth Jarvis scores his 19th of the season. He's still on pace to get 40, which would be fantastic. And he's, like I said, he's already up to 19 goals, and we're not even at Christmas yet. And Seth is just finding ways to score some more. Who knows? This could be the last couple of seasons we've seen him get a lot more assists and goals. This could be a season where we're seeing Seth Jarvis just shooting at will and just getting almost all the goals, it seems like. But Hurricanes on a 5-game winning streak, and they're playing really great hockey. That's all you can really ask for out of these guys when, you know, you're looking at how, you know, Colorado and Dallas are kind of running the gambit out of the West, but, you know, still trying to keep pace with those guys. You got a game in hand still on Dallas, who has 49 points. They played 34 games. Colorado still have 55 points, and Colorado's just Colorado at this point. Right now, you're kind of just feeling like, all right, who's going to be second in the West and who's going to be the top seed in the East? And right now, Carolina, they are, you know, third in the entire league. Minnesota 4th, Vegas 5th, Anaheim 6th. The Islanders are the 7th best team in the NHL, and they're tied with Detroit. And Philadelphia is right there, too. With the Hurricanes, when you look at the division, Hurricanes are 5 points clear of the Islanders. Some of the Islanders always find a way to get themselves into the playoff picture when they don't do anything in the offseason, but I digress on that. But Carolina, like I said, 46 points. New York's got 41. And the thing is, the Carolina Hurricanes have a game in hand over the Islanders. So there's an opportunity to even get farther ahead of these guys. Hurricanes on a 5-game winning streak. You know, Islanders have lost 1. Phillies 1. The Capitals have lost 2. So there's a lot of 1s and 2s here in this division. The Hurricanes, 5-game winning streak, 8-2 in their last 10. And right now they're kind of they're pushing themselves a little bit away from the rest of the division, and you can't be upset with that because when you look at kind of what you're looking at the playoff picture, I mean, obviously squarely number 1. Then you got the Islanders and the Flyers. Who could have seen that coming for a top 3 in the Metro Division? But then you look at the wild cards, Washington at 40, New Jersey at 39. Florida's come on strong as of late. They're at 38. Montreal's at 38. Pittsburgh 37. So there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of teams, you know, jockeying for position. Everyone in the Eastern Conference is 500 or better. Like even Buffalo, who's 14-4, are a 500 club. So, and they're on the 3-game winning streak. So right now, everyone in the East is pretty much close. And it's what? From the second wildcard spot to the 10th spot in the East, you're talking a 7-point difference. Get on a winning streak, you can get in. But Carolina, for them, just taking care of business every day at this point, it seems like. And you know, like I said, score-wise, it looks dominant. When you watch the game, yeah, it was 4-1. You got your 3 goals in the last period, but even then, smothered Nashville. They held them down, you know, and never let them into this game. It's like, yeah, it was 1-0, but were they really even in it when you're just making the saves you need for Pierre Kachekov? You know, you're dominating the shooting performance. You're just controlling the tempo, and that's what the Hurricanes did. And now you're on a 5-game winning streak, and now you got a good test coming up this weekend because you got, you know, you're heading down to Sunrise to play the Panthers on Friday. Then you go head over to Tampa to play, you know, the Lightning on Saturday, and then next week, you know, it might be the holiday week, but you got the Florida Panthers coming to town, so you got to play those guys twice in a number of less than a week, and you're going into Christmas. So should be very interesting next 3 games. But hey, right now, all that matters, Hurricanes are on a 5-game winning streak. They're 5 points ahead in the Metro with the game in hand. and they just keep racking up the W's. So one of the guys who had a multi-point night, like I said, was Jackson Blake, and he's been really good this season. You know, it's been sneaky quiet, but he's also had some games where you're like, okay, yep, Jackson Blake is going to have a good sophomore season. So what did he say post-game? Well, we'll talk about it and listen to it here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets on as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So, if we were in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayers Club today to get Locked On Hurricanes with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go check out the link in the show notes to learn more. And guys, welcome back to the second segment of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said, Jackson Blake having a good sophomore season, and you know, you look at a guy who had a multi-point night against Nashville. Overall in the season, I mean, you're looking at, you know, a 22-year-old guy who's already got 9 goals and 12 assists, 21 points, +3 in 33 games, 5 power play points, and has a game winner. 12.2 shooting percentage, better than last year by 0.2, but it's still a good bit. And time on ice per game, how about 16 minutes and 59 seconds compared to 13:51? And last year he was going up and down from the first to the second to the third. So, you know, trying to find out where his spot is. In this season, cemented right there on the second line right wing spot, and he's definitely deserved every minute. And right now, like, he's only 13 points back of tying his last year total in 18 in 80 games. 5 assists away from tying, and he's only 8 goals away from tying his previous numbers from last year. Safe to say we're going to be seeing some career highs from Jackson Blake. So what did he say after the game following the win against the Predators? Well, we'll listen to that and react to it after right now.
Yeah, success in numbers continues against this team specifically. What do you credit that to?
Yeah, I mean, on the goal, I think it's a great play by Stanks just to get it to the net, and I mean, got a pretty fortunate rebound there, just right to my stick and tapped it in, so that was good. But I mean, and then the power play goal too, fishy, just a great shot by him. So yeah, I mean, playing with Stanks and Fly, that's been a lot of fun, and I think we've been generating a little bit and building as a line, and I think we still have more to give, and we're, you know, going to keep trying to generate and build that chemistry. So yeah.
There's obviously a late push a little bit by Nashville, but to establish the early lead that you guys did, how significant was that?
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, I thought all game, for the most part, we played the way that Rod wants us to play, and yeah, like you said, they had their push. We knew that was going to happen. They had some guys floating a little bit out there, and you know, our D picked that up pretty well, and obviously they got the 1 goal, but other than that, I thought we did a great job tonight.
Is there any frustration with the number of shots you put on Saros, you know, through the first, you know, the first period, 18 or 19 shots on goal?
I wouldn't say we were frustrated. I mean, we knew we were playing well. I mean, when you have 18 shots or whatever it was after the first period, like, you know, some of those aren't going to be grade A's, but, you know, as long as you shoot the puck, it breaks them down and gives you better opportunities later on. And, I mean, no, I wouldn't say we're frustrated, but, you know, just establish the way we wanted to play, and that's one of them, shooting the puck, so that was big.
And Piotr had a look at the empty net there at the end. Were you guys
yeah,
hoping that
was
going to...
Everyone's heart dropped a little bit there. I think Yossi got a little glove on that. I don't know if it was going in or not, but, I mean, I love that from him. He's such a creative goalie, and, you know, he's so good with the puck. One of the best I've ever seen, so I wouldn't doubt if he ends up scoring one in his career for sure.
For Sebastian Aho to push the way that he has, how great was that to see with the group?
Oh, that was awesome. I mean, it's not a lack of effort from him ever. I mean, he's always playing really solid, and to have that big game tonight from him is just what we needed as a group, but I'm sure he needed that too, and super excited to see him get rewarded for his efforts.
Big thank you to Jackson Blake and the Hurricanes as always. And you heard from him too when you look at a game like this where it's just a complete effort from everyone. Sebastian Aho with a multi-point night, Seth Jarvis getting his 19th of the season, which big thanks to Kane Stabburns for this. The Hurricanes 84-7-6 when Seth Jarvis scores a goal in a regular season game. So that stat stays live and well. And, it was funny, too, when they had talked to him about, Peter Kachekov, looking at the empty net, going for a goalie goal. And, it's just unfortunate that it didn't go in, but because he's done it for the Chicago Wolves, and that was just an electric one. He just celebrated like crazy after that. That would have been a cherry on top for the Hurricanes to see Piotr go for the goalie goal, but his time will come. I would not be surprised if we see, Piotr scoring for the Hurricanes at some point. Just to add to the fact that he already has assists, he already, wins games with huge saves. Why not score a goal? That would be huge. But yeah, for Blake, like I said, he's having a great season right now for his sophomore year, and he said for him too, when we talk about Sebastian Aho, it's, he really needed it. 5 games without a point, comes in, has a multi-point night, just dominates from start to finish. And I think Jackson's right. You're looking at a guy who really needed a game like that from, Aho, or, you're not doing much. I mean, you're trying to create the chances when nothing's really going in at the time. And then you have a game like that where it boosts him and the team. And you see, a performance like that where, you won 4-1. You're on, you've won 5 straight games, and now you get to go to Florida and play a very interesting road trip where you got another back-to-back, and you're going up against the 2-time defending Cup champs and Tampa, who's also won back-to-back Cups, in this decade essentially. So it should be an interesting weekend. But that's a tone setter. That is a tone setter of a game to start your 3-game road trip. Is where you go into Nashville. Yeah, it's 1-0 going into the third, but it's how you finish, and they finish on a strong note. We score 3 goals. And you win. You took care of business. That's all you really asked for. So, overall, it's just great to see that you're getting efforts across the board. Alexander Nikishin with, getting some huge assists. Peter Kachekov shutting the door to get a win. You're getting, Svetch, Aho multi-point games. Jackson Blake with a multi-point game. You're getting, Blake finding a way to score off a, Matt Scramber in front of the goal. He was just able to get the rebound off of Stankov and shot. And he scores, and Seth Jarvis keeps on scoring, and that's all you really ask for. And overall, this is a great game. It was a great game by the Carolina Hurricanes. They're still taking, like I said, they're still doing what they need to do to get the wins. They're racking those things up, and now you got a good separation on the rest of the division because it's been pretty close. You saw New Jersey at one point up there, Washington up there at one point. Islanders, it's just, a bunch of teams trying to fight for the number 1 spot. And right now everyone's, losing 1, losing 2, winning 1. And the Hurricanes are winning 5 straight. And now they're with a game in hand on the Islanders. They're already 5 points clear. And if they win another one, boom, then they're going 7 points clear out of the division. And, I'm not going to say that they're going to run away with the division and just lock it down. But this is a good start. This is a good start to how you could go and separate yourselves and basically have everyone else fight for, all right, who's the 2 and the 3 going into the playoffs. And, if the Hurricanes find a way to take the number 1 spot in the East, which they do right now, they have that spot by 5 points. Okay, go and take on the second wild card team, whoever that may be. It might be another Metro team. It could be someone from the Atlantic, because right now, like I said, every team in the East is 500 or better. And from the second wild card to the last spot in the East, it's only a 7-point difference. So if the Hurricanes can find a way to keep the number 1 spot in the East, then you're taking on wild card 2, and you move on from there. Then see how the playoff unfolds, and depending on who comes out of the Western Conference, you could be looking at home ice advantage, later on down the road. But that's a long way away. But either way, when you look at it, great game, and this is how you keep this rolling for the Carolina Hurricanes. So we hear from Jackson Blake, but what did the head coach say after the win? Well, stick around and we'll listen to Rod Brind'Amour and react to it here in a second on a Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. The holidays are amazing, but they can also get overwhelming fast. Travel, gifts, parties, year-end expenses. It's really easy to lose track of your money this time of year, and that's exactly why Monarch has become such a game changer. If you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, Monarch is an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, simple dashboard. The holiday spending category can become a lifesaver. You can see exactly what's left in your gift travel budget in real time, and Monarch makes money check-ins simple. Just a minute or two each week, and you're completely up to speed. Don't let the financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% for your first year at monarch.com with the code LOCKEDONNHL. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So we talked about the game overall. Hurricanes won 4-1 on the back of multi-point nights for a few guys. We heard from Jackson Blake, but what did Rod Brind'Amour say after the Hurricanes win? Well, let's listen to that right now and react to it after.
But to get the lead that you did, how significant was that in this game?
Well, it was great. I thought we had a great game. I thought first period probably deserved a little more. We did everything we needed to do. We just when we got one, and then second was kind of whatever. It wasn't much happening. We did have a couple good looks. Their goalie kept them in it, and I thought our guy played great in the third when we needed it. So good goaltending performances from both teams, but I thought we were good tonight.
Sebastian Aho, multi-point night, 2 goals. How was it to see that production?
Yeah, well, we need that line to get on the board, and I think that they didn't have their best game going, and then all of a sudden the third period get a power play goal, and then obviously good empty netter. But that was good. Another one of those wins that you can go up and down the lineup, and you got 20 guys that were doing their job.
You mentioned your goaltender. He almost contributed on the offensive side of things there at the end.
We knew he was going to do it. That's the time to do it. When you got a couple goal lead, it's definitely, and he's got the ability to. So that was the right time to try that.
What kind of update can you provide on Jordan Martinook?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, he went out, so that's the negative of the whole thing. Hopefully, it's not serious, but I can't tell you.
For Jackson Blake to do what he did, obviously against Nashville 2 times in the last 2 weeks, what have you seen from him specifically?
Well, that line's been great, and to get us on the board early, right? That was in the first period. They got us going, get us ahead of it. So now we just can keep playing. We don't have to do anything special. Then he's been just a real special player for us all year.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes as always, and you heard it from the head coach. Specifically talking about Jackson Blake, he's been great all season for the Canes, and that's been a good line between Ehlers, Stankoven, and Blake. And the fact that that's a line no one really thought was going to roll, and they have been, because you thought, okay, Ehlers comes in, he's going to be top line with Aho and Jarvis, and kind of had a slow start, but then once you place him in that second line, that line's been absolutely rolling. And like I said, for Blake, I said it during the first segment where he's been having a great sophomore season, and the head coach says it too. It's he's been really good. There's been some times where you could have gotten a couple more goals, but it's just that's the nature of the NHL. You can't score every night, but Jackson Blake's had his opportunities, and like I said, his stick handles are insanely good. Like I said, you can put this guy in the London phone booth, and he can just stick handles way out of that thing. That's just how good he is. But that was a big goal. Get the huge rebound from Stankoven, you make it 1-0, and then you kind of just roll on from there. Power play goal, get the job done, and then you just keep scoring. And you could tell Rod was smiling a little bit too. It's like, oh man, that Peter Chekhov goal would have been fantastic. But yeah, great night from him. 4 wins in his last 5 starts. He's on another 2-game winning streak in the net, and needed some big saves out of Piotr, and that's exactly what you got. And like I said, you look at a team that's 1-4-1, and you just keep rolling, you keep taking care of business and kind of finding ways to get the job done in the process, and doing it in a way where it's okay. This team is slowly building on it and see where it goes from there. You got Jacob Slavin back, you got the whole roster back, and it's just seeing how can you keep this train moving. But unfortunately, Jordan Martinook did get hurt. Left the game with a lower body injury. Not sure what that looks like. Hopefully it's just a stinger and he comes back. But, that's nature of the business for the hurricane season. You get one guy back, and another guy goes down, and you get multiple guys go down. So hopefully it's not too long. Hopefully the trend of guys getting injured kind of ends, because the Hurricanes have been going through it this season, especially the blue line. So hopefully we'll see more from the blue line, but it stinks when you don't have Jordan Martinook in there, because he's been big for the Hurricanes this season, and that's someone you need for the locker room and for the vibes and stuff like that. So hopefully it's not too bad. Wishing the best for Marty, and hopefully it's not too long. Hopefully it's just a game, or maybe it's no games. That would be even better, but we'll see how it goes. But the Hurricanes have been the next up mentality team all season, and now it's just you're going to have to keep doing that. And you got Thursday off for travel, but then it's like I said, on to Florida for Friday and Tampa Saturday. So you got a big test coming up on the road trip with taking on two teams that are playing really well in the Eastern Conference, and even if Martinook misses a game or two, you got guys that can step up and take care, do the job, and that's what you really need. And if they have to take someone out of Chicago, I wonder who they bring up. They still got just Barry Kotkaniemi, and it's figuring out what's next, moving on from there, and that's all you really ask for this Carolina Hurricanes team. But like I said, we're seeing some great hockey right now. Yes, the last 3 games before this one were in shootouts, but it's the adversity of the team that they've been all season. Like I said, dealing with injuries, and then just having games where it's you got to dig a little bit deeper. They've done that, and you come out, beat Nashville 4-1. That game could have been a lot uglier for Nashville. It wasn't for UC Saros, and he somehow always finds a way to step up against the Hurricanes and struggle against other ones. But like I said, you held on, you got the second goal that you needed, got the third, and then you won 4-1. And now you move on with the season where you're looking at a team in the Hurricanes that, like I said, are 5 points on the hop in terms of the second in the Metro Division, but you're 22-9-2 with a 21+ goal differential, 11-5-1 at home, 11-4-1 on the road. A big difference compared to last year's road record, that's for sure. But now it's prepare for Florida and Tampa on Friday and Saturday for another back-to-back and another 3 games in 4 days. But until then, guys, this will be the Thursday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen today. Make sure you subscribe info Locked On Hurricanes so you get all the latest episodes. If you need a last-minute holiday gift, or someone keeps asking what you want, make it easy. Ask for the everyday. After episodes of the show, those Discord server active, and more. Subscriptions can be gifted through, if you check out the show link notes at the bottom, you can find our links to the website to get all that. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 national Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen to the NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. If you want to keep up with me, I'm at OneSureZach on X. The podcast is L_Hurricanes. I'm also on Blue Sky, the Zachary Martin, where if you click the link to my bio, you can find all of my written content at thehockeywriters.com. If you want to check out my other podcasts, it's the Searchcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. For Locked On Hurricanes, we're on Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to your podcast. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review, because I might just read it on the show. For YouTube, it's Locked On Hurricanes. Subscribe, hit the bell notifications so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumbs up to let me know if you like the show as well. Share with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. And thank you to everyone in the comments, posting your thoughts and reactions to the shows. That's really appreciated. Love reading those. But yeah, make sure to keep doing that. And, hopefully, the Hurricanes keep rolling and we keep enjoying all the games for the rest of the season, or at least, for the rest of the month, as we kind of slowly wrap up 2025 and going into 26. But until next time, as always, let's go Canes.